Hello guys, I'm Super Ron. Welcome back to the channel. We're back down the G unit and this week we're working on my C5 RS6 to rectify a little oversight that Audi had on these, which is you cannot get to the battery or jump start the car from the front. But today we are going to change that. The engine bays on these RS6s are an absolute work of art. They look amazing. You've got all these carbon fibre engine covers and these are actually air boxes because this is a twin turbo V8 and everything is separate all the way through. So you've got twin intakes, twin air boxes going down to twin turbos, then you've got twin intercoolers and they come up and join the V8 in the middle. But having two of everything does take up twice as much space. Usually everything on this platform of the A6s, even the S6 V8, all the B6, B7, the Passat, they all have their battery under this cover at the top. But in the RS6, we have a header tank. Usually the header tank on all this platform of cars sits here, but we have one of our air boxes here. So everything had to move around and eventually they were out of space. Something had to give and that was the battery. So they ended up putting that in the boot. So in the boot, just like all the other A6 range, except for there's no spare wheel. Under here, we've got these plastic covers, even got plus and minus to give you a little indication there's a battery here. Take this out, which would normally secure your spare wheel in there. Put that to one side, but that uncovers the toolkit and the battery. And this is the only point where you can get to the positive terminal. So not a massive deal, just a couple of covers to go off, then you can jump start your car. But what if your boot is full of stuff? This is my family car, so we take it out on adventures everywhere, camping trip. I even use this to move house. So we had the back completely full, and with all the doors and everything open and all the interior lights on, we had a close call where it only just started, which would have mean we'd have to totally empty the back of the car to be able to get to the battery. If the battery goes flat, we're in some trouble. So in its successor, the B7 RS4, Audi had this same problem. The engine bay was full, they put the battery in the boot, but in them, they put a little jump point in the front. And it just so happens we have an RS4 in an auto shack at the minute. So if we look under the battery compartment, we find an ECU. So they still haven't got the battery there. They've put the ECU here because they've got room for the header tank with only one air box. So they have this little jump point here, which have a little cover on it. So you can see that's where you jump start from. And it's nicely covered up under the cover. If we whip that cover off, you see you've got the point there, but the negative point is just bolted straight to the chassis and it's just a big rod going up from one of the bolt points. So that's where it gets its earth. So I'll do something similar to that. Now it's not uncommon for cars to have batteries in the boot. BMW have been doing it for years and now many new cars do have it in the boot just purely for space. But they always have a jump point somewhere in the front. They didn't really think that through, which left no way of getting power in the engine bay. After I replaced my battery on a previous video, I've never had any battery issues since. So at the time I bought the new battery and fitted that, I did buy some jump points for the front. But as I never had any problems, I never got around to fitting them. But now winter is here again, this car does sit around a lot, so I think it's going to be a good idea to finally fit these front battery points. So I bought these from carbuildersolutions.com. And looking at the packaging, I actually bought these in 2021 and I'd kind of forgotten all about them. But getting all my wiring stuff out last week for the Caddy, I found them again. So this is what they are, isolated points, take off the top and then you've got somewhere to jump start. And then on the bottom, you connect your positive terminal up. We use these quite a bit in show builds where we hide the battery under a false floor and then we just fit these poking out somewhere at the front. You do get a positive and negative, both matching. And it even gives you a little template. So this is what I'm going to put in the front of the car and connect it up to the battery. So a really easy option would be to cut a hole in here, put this through so you just see the positive bit on the front. It'll be nice and easy to get to. The jump point would be there, put your jump leads on and then put the cap on when you don't need it. As you can see on the rest of the car, it is completely standard and the engine bay is completely standard as well. And I kind of like keeping it that way. So I don't really want to put a new hole in there and have this in the engine bay if I can help it. It's not something I'm going to be using very often, only in emergencies. So like the B7, I kind of like to have it maybe up in here. So you can just take this cover off. If we can get it in there somewhere, once the cover's on, you never know it's there. So I think we'll have a look in this scuttle, because the other thing we need to do is get this terminal off to the battery. But in the past, where I've been cleaning leaves out of under here, I do know a little secret under there. So let's get this scuttle off and have a look. With the header tank out the way, we can now see underneath it a couple of little boxes. And this here is the main wire that goes all the way back to the battery in the front, comes forwards, and this is its contact point at the front. So this is where it bolts on. If we take this cover off, you can see we've got a bolt point there. So that is our main positive to the front of the car. That then loops down, and we've got a couple of other boxes there for the rest of the car. So they'll go to the fuse box and to the starter motor. But this one here is our main one to the battery. So that is the one we're going to be connected to. Nice and handy, exactly where we want it. So at the minute, all this is live. So we're gonna go to the back and disconnect the battery, which will make this safe, which means we can unbolt this and then put our wires to it. I haven't been under here for a while, but it's nice to see, still all nice and clean. These normally clog up with the leaves and mud and everything, like it was when I got it. But I cleared it out about 5 years ago, and it's still all nice and tidy. So let's disconnect the battery. Back in the back. So when you disconnect the battery, you always want to do the negative first, because this negative terminal is bolted to the body just down here. So if you're undoing it with your spanner and your spanner accidentally touches the side, it doesn't matter. If you were to do that with the positive, if you had your spanner on there and it accidentally touched this, you'd get a massive spark. Most probably your spanner would weld itself to the body and it'd fry every ECU in the car. It'd create a dead short across the battery and maybe even blow the battery up. So you always disconnect the negative first, and that is safe. And now there is no electricity in the car, and it doesn't matter if anything touches the positive wires at the front. So now we're all safe. It's not going to matter if we go on here and touch some body, because again, this would be directly to the battery, so we'd have a big spark. So we found our 2 place, which is going to be that nut there. We can have the cable coming out here, put the cover back on, and that'll be all nice and factory. We need our from place. We need to decide where we're going to put our terminal. Like I say, I'd like to get it up here somewhere, but I'd also like it hidden. We have got a lot of room over this side, and it's not something I'm going to be using very often, and the scuttle isn't bolted on, so we could go down here if we can't fit it under the cover. If I can fit it under the cover, that's going to be pretty cool. And like I said, the easiest way would be just to drill a hole through there and have this sitting in the bay, which wouldn't look out of place, but I don't know, it's not supposed to be there. So I think I'd rather have it hidden and not have to drill a hole in the bulkhead. Although, it doesn't look too bad. That would be the easiest option, just to put it there. Let's see if we can fit it next to the header tank, because that would be the coolest way, just like the B7s. I do like making things hard for myself. It'd be so easy just to stick it under there somewhere, but I would really like to have it in here. So you pop off the cover and there it is. I think this is going to be the best place. You can't get it in there like that with that bracket, but I think if I modify that bracket a bit that holds the header tank off, put a bigger flange on there and then drill a big hole in it, I think that's going to be the perfect place. The other thing I've got to watch out is I've got room below it, because obviously that point can't touch anything metal. That's why it's on that big red insulator. So I think I'm going to take that bracket out, weld a corner on it, and then cut my big hole in. And now I strictly don't need a negative point, because that can just go on any point around the car. But looking at it, there's not really that many points. Normally you just put the jump lead on the cylinder head or a metal bracket. But as you can see, you can't really see anything metal. So I quite like to try and get this one in here as well. This one's not as important because that just bolts to the body. But if I can get that in the front and that in the back, I think that'll be a super cool install. That's annoying. One pipe goes one side of the hole and the other pipe goes the other side, so you can't thread it through. But just take off this top one and then we can get that out. There we go. You have to remember to thread that through when I put it back in. Alright, let's go to the fabrication station. So you can see there, I scribed a line. That's where the edge of the header tank is. So I know my thing can't go any further that way. So we need to build a bit of a flange coming out here. So I'll just get a little plate. Know how big our circle's got to be. That can go on there. Then I'll either bolt or weld it on there. Be super. So I've got a bit of 3mm plate, same thickness as that. So that'll go in there nicely to chop it down. So I've got to cut a hole in there. But as seen, these are 1 3/8, which is a weird size, like 35mm. So I'm gonna have to 1¼ it, which is 32, and then just Dremel it out a bit. But what an imperial size, 1 3/8. Not for me. So let's drill a hole in this, shape it up, and then we can put that on there. And we're going to be just a few millimeters shy. So I'll just give that a little whoop. So I've just cut the center out of our template. Hopefully that is to scale. And that leaves just a couple of millimeters ring around it. Okay, give that a little trim. Perfect. Well, make it a little prettier. Check. Looks a bit nicer, and then that sits on there like that. All insulated. Terminal to the body. And we have our cap. Cover back on. And our little thing will sit in there. Really, we want the point being as far this way as we can get it. That's where I want the hole. So we'll take it back out and chop. Here's our little plate. Sits in there perfectly. I've added a little lip on the end. Just give it a little bit more strength around the corner because I had to cut that ridge out. That is looking good. I think I'll weld that on. Well, as Mr. Mig is buried behind all the Zafira stuff still, I thought it'd be a good time to get out Mr. Tig. So I've barely practiced this. I've had it about 10 years and it's just sat here. And remember when I was welding the Golf up, I was having all that trouble with the helmet. Well, it turned out I've got a nice new one sitting here. So that just shows how often I get down the unit now. So the other one obviously broke and I bought a new one, but I'd forgotten. So let's see if we can TIG this on. If not, just bash out Mr. Mig. Just thought I'd refresh myself. Guide to welding, just going through this. Found my original bill, 12th of December 2011. So I've had it 12 years, but I've never actually welded with it. Let's change that now. Now I know for many this is probably child's play, but we are getting things stuck together. It's going well. And there it is on. A bit messy around the edges, but that didn't go too bad. It's certainly not going anywhere. So I'll flap that off. Little shiny off. Terminal 1. Fits in there. Perfect. And in. Liking the look of that. Let's try it with the panel on. Perfect. All hidden. Needs jump start. There it is. Super happy with that. Exactly what I wanted. And then you pop the cap on. And it is all safe. And there is plenty of space around it for putting a jump lead on. So you could have another one in the front without any issues, I think. So I'm going to put my negative here. Bit of job escalation again. So looking at it with the cover off, right where this one wants to go is where the down bar is for the whole bracket. I mean, we could redesign all of this, but we don't actually need all this insulation in it because this is just going to be going to ground anyway. I could just have a bolt sticking up and put this nut on the top because all this is a threaded bar going all the way through. Put that going through And then if I put the cap on, they'd both be matching. So I think I'll just need to put another bracket out, put a bolt through, put that on, and then they'd be sitting in there nicely, perfectly matching. So I've put the fitting in the lathe, a little bit overkill, I know, but I wanted to try and get this out the middle because I don't need all of this, I just want the cap on there. But this is either pressed in or Loctited in, but I can't get this out of the middle. So I'm going to try and turn all the plastic off until we get down to just the thread, and if that can get out, and I can just put a bolt through and have this nice cap and then the lid on top. So let's turn this down and see what we can make. And there it is cut down, and I can see why that wouldn't bolt out. It's actually made together. It had a copper ring around it, but there are some flats on it. But I managed to get all the way around and cut the collar off. So I just wanted to leave a little lip on here so the band of the cover can still locate. Just tidy that up a bit. But they've still got nice lots of threads on there. That's going to work perfect. So now we're left with this guy that looks like he's skipped leg day, but that should fit perfectly down there. So we just put a little tab and then we can bolt straight through that. Perfect. Let's get welding on, another little tab on there, and these two can sit in like twins. So as we don't need as big a hole as the red one, we only need a hole size for the bolt. I've just knocked up this little beauty, and that's going to sit in there. So we'll have 1 and 2. So if I weld that on, that's going to be a perfect pair. So we're all set up. Let's try and stick this on. And much happy with that. Actually got some nice welds on there now. So we are fixed on. The good thing about TIG, it is so nice and neat. So that looks good. So that is going to sit in there like that with the 2 terminals. And bolted in. Looking good. Let's try it in the car. And there it is, as if Audi did it themselves. That fits in there perfectly. Fits under the cover, lots of room between them. That too. And it's all bolted in its final resting home. All painted up, all bolted in properly. So now we just got to make the wires. It's a really short track for the positive. We've got our main terminal here where the battery wire comes into. And we've just got to go to there. So I can just do a nice short little cable from there to there. And on the negative, you can just see the post there. And what I have just spotted down here, if I can get you to see, is here. That's the original bolt hole for the battery clamp. So when there's a battery in the bay, that's where the clamp goes. So I can use that bolt, be a nice big secure tough point, going up to our negative point. So both nice short runs. Let's get them made up. I've got some 25mm squared cable that you use for starter motors, black and red. We've got our terminals and our crimper. So let's make some cables. Cut, prep, squeeze, crimped on, and heat shrink, and repeat. And the negative, prep, terminal, crimp, shrink. Done. And here are our 2 cables. So we've got the jump points this end, that goes to our bulkhead connector, and that goes to our battery clamp bolt. So you might notice we've got 10mm holes on these for the batteries, but the car fixings are actually only 8mm. And I don't know if you can see on there, that says 25-8, which means it's for 25mm squared wire and has an 8mm hole. So these ones have 25-10. So now let's get this little baby in there. And it's in. So we've got a super short reach on that positive, which is perfect. So now you can see a little bit better. This bolt here is the one you want to connect to. That'll go straight to your battery. And got the negative in as well. This one coming down. And that goes down to the battery clamp point, which is nice and beefy. That goes up there into the bottom of that. And that goes up there into the two terminals. So we are fully connected. I can put that cover back on there, so that'll be all covered in factory. The only bit that I might want to cover up is get one of those little boots to go on here, because although it doesn't touch anything at the moment, it's all nice and clear. If anyone ever drops something in here, that might just touch that. So I'm going to get a little boot for that, just to be on the super safe side. Here's that factory cover, like you wouldn't even know. I've just stuck a bit of silicone hose on there for now, just to protect it, make sure nothing touches till I get one of them boots. But under here, I think we are done. I can get this header tank back in, because this has been in my way the whole time. And something every VW and Audi owner have done at some point, do not forget to plug your low coolant back in. Because as soon as you get in, it'll go ping, low coolant on your dash. All right, let's final fit this in. It's so nice when a plan works out. I love it, love it, love it. That on, that on. Let's get this scuttle back in, and factory looking RS6 bay. Under here. Whoa, nice jump points. Easy to get to, pop them on. And we've still got these so they don't fall down there and get lost. Jump away. Got loads of clearance going in both sides, and everything around it is plastic, so it's not going to worry too much. That is awesome. Negative on there as well. Perfect. Right, let's stick this battery back on. See if we have any sparks. Power is restored. Let's go and check the front. So we've got a meter connected. Let's put negative on negative, positive on positive, 12 volts. That's what we want to see. We are fully connected. So covers all back on. I think we can call this done. Now I know a few people have been waiting for this for a long time, because in the episode where I did do the battery, I said at the end, this. So make sure you subscribe, because next episode I will be putting that jump point in. I'll be making the brackets, making the lead up, and it's all going to sit in there really nicely and be hidden away. And I've just looked that video up, and that's 16th of April 2021. So we're a little bit past the 23rd of April deadline, but we got there in the end. So although I've gone well over the top on this install, you can see it is very easy to put a jump point at the front. You've got that junction box already there, and you can put one of those big terminals pretty much anywhere you want. You can buy lengths of lead already pre-terminated from anywhere like Halfords, and that will be job done for you. The other thing I can now do is I'm going to be getting a deep cycle charger for this, so the battery doesn't keep going flat over winter. It just continuously cycles and conditions the battery. I can actually put that to these terminals in the front, so I can have my connector just sitting under here as well. So I won't need to go to the boot and have the boot open all winter. So it's been a lot of work getting it done like this, but I'm super happy with the outcome. So now, finally, after 2.5 years, I can tick this one off the RS6 list. Hope you've enjoyed this video. We've had a bit of wiring, a bit of tigging, a bit of lathe work, a bit of bandsaw. We've been all around the workshop today, and it's been nice to have a little bit of fun. So make sure you give this video a like. Be sure to tune in next time. But until then, make sure you have fun.